All right, well, we're both wearing black. I'm glad I wore red shoes to break things up a little bit. And I just discovered that we both love Greek food. So hopefully we can discover many other things where Demet and I are aligned. And I was just sharing with you backstage that I've been at Kleiner Perkins for almost 6 years. And the very first investment that I actually worked on was Trendyol. And it was an investment that one of my partners, Aileen Lee, was leading. And I came in to help some of the due diligence efforts around market sizing and actually some references on you. And it's a real pleasure as an investor to see a business grow over time. And so we invested around summer of 2011, I think. And I know it wasn't always easy, Demet. You know, as a female founder, as a pioneer in a market like Turkey, taking what you had learned in the United States and really trying to innovate there. And the ups and downs that you'd experienced along the way, the fundraising that you'd experienced along the way, and then the milestones that you achieved, including profitability and the future that we're going to talk about. So let's dive right into that with the perspective of an investor that's seen this journey along the way, and hopefully many of you in the audience who are at the startup stage to really appreciate the entrepreneur's journey as you're a small company being scrappy, trying to sort of fight the forces that are against you, to create a market, to battle against incumbents, the ups and downs, and the many successes along the way. So let's dive right in. So first, Demet, why don't you share with us what Trendyol does and what inspired you to start the company?
Sure. Welcome, everyone. Trendyol is the largest fashion e-commerce player in Turkey. We sell over 20 million units a year, and we're the largest employer with 1,000 employees. And at Trendyol, what we've done is we've really leveraged the huge population in Turkey of 80 million young population, together with the amazing, massive fashion production capability in Turkey that was just never online before. And we've revolutionized the fashion ecosystem and putting them online, matching together with our customers.
And you came up with this idea in the United States. I mean, you were educated in the United States. Your early business experiences were in the US. You were at Harvard Business School. Why did you decide Turkey? And from a startup perspective, what were the benefits and the challenges of innovating in that market?
So throughout my career, I worked in the US and in Asia and Europe, and I've always worked on projects about building things. So building products, building brands, entering new markets. It's just what I love to do. And while I was starting at Harvard, I went to visit my parents in Istanbul, and I just saw the opportunity there and how there was just an amazing population and the fashion production capability, and there was just nothing that was really serving it. And I just saw the consumer need, and I dropped out of school. All my friends thought I was crazy when I was doing it, but I just felt like it was right, and it was like the best thing I could do. And I'm happy I did, obviously, and it was really challenging, and I've had a lot of challenges along the way, and there's different challenges of being in Turkey as a startup, but there's also a lot of benefits. And I would say one of the major benefits of Turkey is just it's a big blue ocean. 80 million population, one of the youngest populations in Europe, highest growing. For example, 50% of Turkey is under the age of 30, whereas in Europe, this is 30% under the age of 30. So there's a huge population that's just ready for digital disruption. Another benefit is because of the young population, there's amazing talent pool. There's a lot of great schools, great engineers, and so we've been able to really take advantage of that and really grow the ecosystem in Turkey. Another thing that I saw actually when I was visiting my parents is that when I studied the country and I studied what was going on in business, I saw that it was very similar to China in that in every single industry you can think of, there's a local champions that are the clear market leaders. And so from health to tourism, to banking, to logistics. It was always a Turkish local champion. And a lot of these Turkish local champions I saw, not only were they a clear market leader, but they were also leaders in the region, and they were internationalizing. And I thought that this is just a great opportunity to do something in fashion e-commerce. But in terms of challenges, there's always challenges, especially when you're a startup. I would say the major challenges that I've experienced as a founder in Turkey, the first was building the know-how. So you have to be a pioneer in many things. It's not like in the US where you say, okay, I just hire someone from this, and that company. They know growth, they know mobile. It really doesn't work that way. So you have to really build a lot of the know-how, which also gives you a great competitive advantage, but it also takes more time. Another, I would say, is the culture. So the culture to succeed in tech companies is very different than the culture in many Turkish companies. So the culture in our company and what it requires to build tech is you need to be scrappy, you need to be fast, agile, make decisions, autonomy, whereas in Turkish companies, most of it is not this way. So we have a very hard time sometimes hiring senior talent, so we have to really retrain them on how it takes to operate to be really successful in a tech company.
You know, it's funny, you mentioned dropping out of school, and it's such a hard decision for people to make, but it's actually a very common one for founders. You hear a lot of successful founders dropped out of school to achieve what they achieved. And many of them say it's because I saw a finite market window and I needed to pounce on it.
Yeah.
Were those the elements that said, it's, right now is the right time, I have to do it right now?
I felt it was the right time, and I just really wouldn't be able to go back to school and concentrate, honestly. It was just, I had the idea and I just had to execute.
Great. And we talked about this being a journey, and it's not easy. Most of the businesses that I see at the growth stage, the idea that they had at the point of concept had to evolve and course correct along the way. And outstanding founders, it's not just about having an incredible vision, an incredible product market fit, but the ability to adapt and evolve. Can you share a little bit of that story over the last 6 years, how you've course corrected, adapt and evolved to survive and to prevail?
Sure. So I think testing and course correcting is really important for any company. It's not just for a startup, because customer behavior changes, and as customer behavior changes, you need to adapt as a company. And to really take over the market and to be the most successful, not only do you need to adapt, you need to do it better and much better than the rest. And so as a company, we've been able to do it a lot. We've tested and course correct the past 6 years, and we will in the next decade as well. So it's super important. And as a company, we've been able to do it successfully. Some we haven't, but most we have. And the reason why is we're very data and customer obsessed. And so a few examples that we've been able to do a lot of course corrections that I think are vital to our success is across merchandising, which is a very core important part of our business, technology, another very important, so particularly mobile, and third, I'd say in organizational design. So specifically with merchandising, we started off as a platform just selling brands. Our technology backend was connected to other brands, manufacturers, and we just were the sell-through. We were like a marketplace. But we had to change our business in order to sell private label, because we saw the opportunity that actually consumers want better choice. They want more choice, and they want unique choice to be a major fashion destination. So right now, private label is more than half our business, and we've been able to course correct along the way. So when we first started, we need to hone different skills. So it's learning buying, design, sourcing, producing, and it's very, very different than selling brands. And so over time, for example, we first started in women's fashion, and we said we're going to learn women's fashion, particularly office and party wear. We're going to hone it, and after that, we course correct and we take it into other categories, and we've been able to do that successfully. And so we've been able to combine data and technology to do that, but also there was a lot of learnings along the way. In terms of technology, our course correct was in mobile. So right now, everyone in any company is talking about mobile and how mobile is really important. But 4 years ago, people weren't, especially in Turkey. And so because we were data obsessed, we saw really early on the fundamental shift in customer behavior when she shops on mobile. It increases 3.5x. And so once we saw that, we said, okay, we need to invest. And our competitors, no one was taking mobile seriously. But we said, we need to invest, and we're going to work on that. And so as a company, we had to change our shift, our way of thinking and operating, to think about mobile and to be really mobile first when no one was doing it. So it's really difficult to do that. And so because of the data obsession and how we saw how the fundamental shifts are, we were able to do it. But it did take a lot of course corrections to get there, whether it's training your tech team, etc. And another is organizational design. And in organizational design, what we have to do course correct is there's different phases in the startup. So the first phase, I started in my living room. We were just 5 people sitting on the same table at my dining table. And it was really easy for communication and to get things done quick. And when you move from 5 to 1,000 people, you have to course correct your organizational design. So whether it's your organization chart, the reporting structure, just to make sure you're as agile as when you were 5 people. So there was a lot of course corrections on the way in order to make sure that we're acting like a startup, even if we're 1,000 people.
Yeah, changing and course correcting on one level for founders, I think is challenging because you've got the ego of believing you're right, but then you're obsessed with the data. If the data shows that something else is the right answer, not what you initially thought, you should immediately put your ego aside and then go to where the right answer is.
Yeah.
I think it was Steve Jobs that said, "I don't care about being wrong along the way. I just care about ultimately being right."
Yeah.
And so do you feel like founders need to learn to put their egos aside and just go objectively to what the data is telling you?
Definitely. I mean, there's so many things that we're doing correctly right now. When I first was presented the idea, I was like, well, let's test it, but I don't think it's going to work. So I think it's really important. And so if you're customer focused, you're actually open to seeing and testing. So as a company, for example, we do more than 50 A/B tests on our site and our apps. And so we're constantly testing, and the customer is telling us what's right, not a single person.
Great. And a topic that's top of mind for many founders is fundraising. And you've had a number of rounds at the early stage, at the growth stage, the round that we helped lead back in 2011. You've also had subsequent rounds and new investors, including Tiger Global and EBRD. Can you talk a little bit about advice for founders and growth stage companies around fundraising?
Sure. So the first thing is actually that I think founders shouldn't be so fixated on fundraising. And what I mean by that, it's really important to build a product that customers love and a product that really matters. And I sometimes see that founders are so fixated on fundraising that they spend so much time on that and they spend less time on the product and the team. And fundraising is really, in my opinion, not a celebration. It actually sets the bar higher. You have to perform even better. You have to do even more. So it's a great milestone to get to the end goal, but it's definitely not a celebration.
There are a lot of companies that when they fundraise, they feel like they've made it. And it's I think it's a bad habit to get into, and it's one I think that speaks to what you said. Focus more on the business. Don't focus on fundraising as being necessarily a sign of success.
I agree, and in fact, we've had 3 rounds to get to our profitability, and in those rounds, I didn't have celebrations about it. We had a normal office happy hour, and there I would say, this is great. We were able to get great investors, but you know what? Because they're great investors, we have to work this much harder, and it's going to get harder. And another piece of advice, by the way, that I would say for fundraising is try to find investors who really believe in what you're doing and who are there for the long term. And what I mean by that is there's sometimes momentum investors, and they invest in what they think the market's hot, and they won't let you focus on building a customer-focused, great company. And that takes time. It took us about 4 years to get to profitability. And so you need investors that are going to be with you and help you build the company along the way, and not just do a quick flip, because it may not happen, and you can't build a company to exit. You have to build a company for the long term, and an exit happens when you're great.
Yeah, I think it's like any courtship, right? You want the chemistry to be there on both sides. Yeah. And I think as an investor, the same thing. You have to believe in the vision, you have to believe in the founder. Otherwise, these businesses, they aren't flesh and blood. They're just a transaction. Yeah. So I agree with that wholeheartedly. So let's talk about the future. We've talked a lot about the past and the course corrections and the things that you've learned to get here. But can you talk about your major products and sort of your roadmap for the future?
Sure. So in Turkey, e-commerce penetration is only 2%. So there's a long way to go. So it's a big blue ocean, and just in Turkey, from 2%, we believe e-commerce penetration will grow to 10 to 15%. Just as I mentioned, the figures of the young population, and they're very open to digital. So in the next 5-10 years, we expect to grow 5 to 10x just in Turkey. And so we'll focus on our home market and really reap the benefits of being a market leader. And we'll be investing in user experience, and we'll be investing in technology, operations, and into our private label. But this is one of our major projects in terms of in Turkey. But because we're market leader and we're profitable already, we feel like we're ready to start selling internationally. And so we'll be starting to do that in the end of next year. And what we'll do is it'll be very organic. So we'll start the operations from Turkey to the rest of the region. And what we'll do is we'll be losing our advantage of fast fashion. And what I mean by that is for our private labels, we are able to scale it very profitably in a quick amount of time. For example, this jacket, part of our private label, we see a design, we like it, we can produce it in 2 days and put it on the site in the first few hours, see how much we can produce. Let's say it's 1,000 or 5,000 according to the demand, and then we can scale. So we'll be using this model to scale internationally. And since Turkey,
and that really takes the risk out of the merchandising process,
it does.
right?
So
Yep.
it not only takes out the risk, but what's really important is you can really tailor to customer needs and demand. And so it's using data and technology, and using Turkey's fashion product production capability, we're able to produce to demand, but also very quickly the fashion that they want. And so, like internationally in our region of Europe and Middle East, there's over 300 million online shoppers, and we believe 30% of them are fashion and price conscious. So we're able to produce. So for example, this jacket is $30, whereas in other European markets it's 100 or if not more. And so we're going to be able to really leverage the production capability along with our data and supply chain.
You know, one thing that's really unique about your business, I see a lot of commerce businesses using data and analytics as just a reporting function.
Yeah.
You've really allowed that to fuel every function of your enterprise, merchandising decisions, everything. And one of the tricky things as an investor, investing in fashion, it's got a hit-driven risk associated with it. So it's either a boom or a bust. It's very difficult. But you're a technology company for all the reasons that you mentioned. And so I think that as you think about the roadmap of what that means, leveraging your technology stack to drive you into new product areas, I think is really impressive. So in the time that we have left, I think you're a shining example, I think, for many entrepreneurs there on sort of the female success story. The female success story as a business leader, but the female success story as a technology founder. And the numbers out there are, I would say staggering in terms of the lack of representation of female leaders in our industry. Can you talk a little bit about your journey and how you see the challenges and the future of female founders in technology?
So in terms of females in technology, I agree, we're far and few between. And over the past few years, a lot has been discussed about it. So whether what's being discussed, and I think they're all really important issues, are lack of women studying in STEM, lack of role models, unsupported work environments. And I think these are really important, and a lot is being done to address it. But what I personally think is one of the biggest issues is what I call the perfection issue. And it's that women they feel they need to be perfect, and they're afraid to fail, and they're afraid to fail in public. But if you think about technology and you think about entrepreneurship and startup, it's actually all about failing. You fail and you learn and you try hard and harder again until you really make it. And with the perfection issue, it doesn't start at the workplace, it starts at the home, it starts at the school, it starts when she's 3 years old. And so I think we need to solve that at an early age before anything. So that's one thing. But in terms of what we've done, for example, being a female leader, I was able to recruit more females into our company, and more than half our leadership are females. And I think what companies need to do, and it's just a smarter thing to do, is really leverage the fact that 50% of their workforce, and everyone here is talking about talent and they're looking for talent, just really try and hire great women rock stars, and they will bring other women into the organization.
Well, it's an inspirational story, I think, for many out there, and I hope for future female leaders. Thanks very much for your time. I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.